All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to episode 27 of Toast the Toss. Today is a special episode because we're going to talk about a lot of things. But before we get to the contents, let me welcome our panelists. You've all heard two of our panelists, which is Bidhu Das and Tejas, who come. Bidhu comes with his own unique insights, and Tejas comes with the depth of knowledge of anything which he follows. Along with that, we have an exciting third panelist today, which is Suvam, who's a student of history and has a particular interest in sports history, an area which is also very close to my heart. And Suvam brings in his expertise with respect to women's cricket as well. So as we go along in the show, we'll get to hear a lot from him. Without further ado, let's get started. So, good evening and welcome, gentlemen. The first and I would say saddening news, legendary spinner Shane Warne unfortunately passed away last evening, India time. He was 52. So, what I'd like to hear from you is when I mentioned the name Shane Warne, what is that one moment or a particular trait or anything of Shane Warne which comes to your mind, which first comes to your mind, or what would you like to remember Shane Warne with?
Uh,
Hi.
I'll go. Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. So before I jump to the specialty of Shane One, I just wanted to say that the game itself is a huge leveler. We always hear the commentators saying that. And when on one hand we are celebrating a lot of things in cricket, be it Kohli's 100 tests or the Women's World Cup getting played in New Zealand. In the same time, in the space of 2 days, we lost two of the gems, Rod Marsh and Shane Warne. When I think about Shane Warne, I think about the movie Rocky 4, where the protagonist Rocky goes to Russia to fight a Russian opponent. And during the boxing bout itself, Rocky gains the admiration of the home crowd. And Shane Warne's aura was something like that. He used to travel to India, West Indies, and have fierce rivalry with the legends of the nation, be it Sachin, Lara, even in the Ashes against England. Yet his wizardry would be admired by the sports fan of those opposing nation. And I think that is a very rare and special quality to be admired by the opponent. And when it comes to memory, it's hard to speak about one memory of a bowler who has taken around 700 wickets in tests and half as many in one day. But first of all, my fandom is incomplete because I started watching cricket in 1999, and by the time Shane Warne was a legend in itself. So my rating would come half of his career, but within that, his stint with Rajasthan Royals is one of my special memories. The reason is he was always a great leader by himself, but due to various reasons, he never captained Australian team. So post his retirement from the game, when this opportunity was presented in the IPL, he could have never have imagined that he would be leading a team, a non-Australian team, in a format which is totally different, and be dealt with a very, very young team with a lot of uncapped players. Yet he led them to championship. So that is very special. And also during that particular stint, he ensured he groomed a lot of cricketers. Jadeja, Yusuf Pathan, Shane Watson were all youngsters in that time, and they all went on to become legends themselves. So I keep that particular stint of him with Rajasthan Royals very, very close to my heart.
Yeah, I mean that's a great point. I mean, trust you, Bidhu, to combine the current affairs, geopolitics, and cricket, right? I mean, Rocky, Russia, which is and Russia being in news. But just coming back to Shane Warne, he also broke the mold of what preparation is, right? I mean, with Rajasthan Royals, I know there are legendary stories where he would never let the team practice before a match. They would all be chilling and then just doing a mental preparation. And even his practice sessions were they were legendary to have been out of the box. And I always say that Shane Warne was one of those amazing captains which Australia never had. So yeah, I mean some great points by you, Bidhu. Go ahead, Tejas.
Shane Warne, I think, easily the best cricketing brain the world has ever seen. Full stop. Because you've seen him, do some wonderful stuff on cricket field, right? One of the example was how he bamboozled Basit Ali in the last ball of the day. To even think to try out those kind of fancy things at the end of the day, and having the skill to match it defines Shane Warne. And also one of the instance, I'll go back to the Suraj stint as well, where in a game Deccan Chargers had scored 200 plus runs, and at the halfway mark, Yusuf Pathan, Ravindra Jadeja were all worried, saying that how are we going to chase 210 odd? So Shane Warne comes in and says, lads, we bowled well, they're 10 runs short. After conceding 210 runs. And then in the last over, when they needed around 18 to 20 runs and Simons was bowling, a retired cricketer, Shane Warne, whose batting abilities had waned over the years, although he was a terrific batter at the middle of his career, he comes in and hits those 20 runs. Goes to show that this guy is a brilliant tactician and also had the skill to match. I mean, just one part of Shane Warne. I think the whole man, the aura, the way he lived on the edge, all these things define what Shane Warne is. And I think I don't think there'll ever be someone like Shane Warne in 100 years, 200 years. I don't think so. He's just one of a kind, and we were blessed to watch him at the peak of his powers.
Yeah. I mean, outspoken, and I mean the other memory which reminds me is that great Test match 2005 Ashes, where England are almost winning, and then Shane Warne and Michael Kasparov have that amazing partnership, and where they almost take Australia within touching distance of victory for that, then the gloved catch or non-gloved catch of which the England claim. But yeah, I mean, Shane Warne with the bat could play when the team needed, and then I mean he's had some amazing innings. He was underrated as a batter because he was such a stellar performer as a bowler. But yeah, I mean he could do magic with the bat as well. Suvam, your thoughts?
About Shane Warne, we all know about that ball of the century to Mike Gatting, that thing, and that first comes to my mind. But I haven't seen Shane Warne bowling live much, or even on TV. But I don't remember the exact season of WBB of Big Bash League, but I remember one instance when he was speaking to the commentators and how she got rid of most probably McCallum and McCallum. So he told the commentators that the exact way he wanted to bowl, and he did exactly, and McCallum went for the sweep and he missed the ball. So that was one memory which comes to my mind very first. And then regarding the Rajasthan Royals camp, people tell about Ravindra Jadeja or even Yusuf Pathan, but Swapnil Asnotkar in that very first season came to be a prominent name. So yep, Shane Warne and his captaincy during first IPL season will remain in memory.
Yeah. I mean, Swapnil Asnotkar. I mean, I was looking forward to him in the next seasons, but again, it goes on to show how Shane Warne was able to identify talent and give them the right platform to express it, right? Because I know Swapnil Asnotkar went to a couple of other teams, and maybe they weren't as astute enough to utilize him effectively. And that Rajasthan Royals team, everybody was an unknown except for Shane Warne. And he was able to use them exceptionally well to win the the inaugural IPL. One memory which I'll always carry about Shane Warne is how professional he was. What I mean is, we all know some of the off-field troubles he got into, right, with his personal life and a couple of other things. But the fact that he was able to keep his personal life and his professional life separate, even when he was going through a painful separation in his personal life, he was able to come in and terrorize the English batsmen in the Ashes. That, to me, is a quality which is worth applauding for, because it's very difficult to keep your personal and professional life separate, although we all want to. But very few people are able to focus so much on their professional life when there is a storm happening in their personal lives. And that, to me, will always be Shane Warne, who could, on the field, he was a wizard, irrespective of whatever happened off the field, and he was able to channel his energies that way. Gone too soon, but I think he'll always remain in our hearts as that legendary bowler who brought leg spin back into focus and into being extremely cool. All right, moving on to our next topic. The next one is the South Africa versus New Zealand Test Series, the recently concluded South Africa versus New Zealand Test Series. Again, all of us love Test Series, like what we were discussing earlier. And now, because there's so many matches happening, there is so many T20s, there is one day, there is so much cricket, but there is some kind of charm and resilience and applaud which a Test cricket brings, which I don't think any other format tests the players. So, gentlemen, your thoughts on the 1-1 drawn series between South Africa and New Zealand?
Yeah, New Zealand, South Africa. First of all, I was quite surprised to learn that New Zealand have never beaten South Africa in a Test series. That was news to me at the beginning of the series. So generally, my interest peaked at that point. And so this South African team is not like the dominating side, which were unbeaten away for 10 years. I think from 2005 to 2015, they never really lost an away series. This is definitely not that team, but this is Dean Elgar's team. And you can see that with the fight they gave in the second Test match. People say that the captain is as good as the team, and I think, but in this case, I think the team is as good as their captain, especially when it comes to the mental fortitude that these guys have. Believe me, I mean, Dean Elgar is a tough captain. He will not take any nuisance from his players, even the most talented guy like Kagiso Rabada, when he was spraying the ball here and there against India in the second Test match. I think we discussed this in the earlier show as well. He went to Kagiso Rabada and gave him a proper dressing down as to, Kagiso, you are the leader of this pack and I expect you to behave like that. And post that, we saw Kagiso Rabada is one of the main reasons why they won the Test series. And I'm very sure, and even now, after the Test series, there is a talk that for the Bangladesh series, the home series for South Africa, that many of the IPL-bound South African stars, they don't want to be to play that Test series, but he's come out openly and said, you guys can go, but this is the time when we'll know the players' true loyalty. So he is no holds barred. He wants to do well for his team. He wants the players to come in and take South African team to the previous highs. And I think the second Test match just is Dean Elgar's Test match. As for New Zealand, I feel after the highs of their World Championship, right, Test match World Championship, then we get to know that even New Zealand, who pride themselves of being more than some of individual players, right? That's what we call New Zealand as. They still depend on their captain Williamson and Ross Taylor, and it was clearly shown, not in terms of skill, at least with respect to the calmness or the experience that they bring in. And I think, I hope Williamson recovers quickly and comes back, because it is very important for world cricket so that New Zealand are doing well in the cricketing arena, because they bring in a different dimension to the game. The good guys and everyone's favorite second team. So I really wish they do. But all in all, a great series, a great tussle in two separate Test matches. And I think we all really wonder why New Zealand tours are just two Test match series. It really should be three minimum.
So, yeah. I was about to say that I just hate it when it's a two Test series, right? Like this when it was so evenly poised. South Africa lost the first one. South Africa came back wonderfully in the second one. And then, it's setting up for a brilliant climax. But then, you know what? It's just a two Test series. Yeah, I do.
No, it's weird. It's weird. Yeah.
I thought after New Zealand became the world champions, I thought the New Zealand board is going to say, hey, we are the Test champions. Can we at least now, even if we say three Test series, there'll be teams which will want to come and beat us in our backyard. So I thought they'll get the backing of the broadcasters and everybody else. I'm just still surprised.
Yeah, same here.
But yeah. So your thoughts?
South Africa, if we want to talk about South Africa and Dean Elgar, if you remember most probably during the World Cup, when a lot of talk was going on about if Dean Elgar was the right captain or not, because we know that there has been some issues within the team regarding the Black Lives movements or passing the comments which were not very much appropriate. From that position, when South Africa beat India in the Test series, and Dean Elgar was one of the most prominent batters who faced a lot of criticism when he was batting and regarding his captaincies. From there to beat South Africa, and that too when beat New Zealand, and that too when South Africa lost the first test so miserably. That has been a condemned job for South Africa. And if you look at the scorecards, the bowlers have beat New Zealand in their home was a very good job.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things that stood out for me, right? I mean, first, just of course, no practice games in the new COVID world. South Africa shot out badly, 95 first innings, maybe 111 second innings, right? And they're missing their star batter, Keegan Peterson, who performed so well against India. So now you have gone there and you've lost the first test match. Second test match, to the surprise of everybody, South Africa picks a spinner in Keshav Maharaj when New Zealand did not have a spinner. Second, they chose to bat first on a pitch which was moving. From there, for opening batsman in Ervi to score his first test century, he's just 2 test matches old, right? And then for Verreynne to kind of step into the shoes of Quinton de Kock in the second innings. Again, Verreynne is probably 4 test matches old? And then for Keshav Maharaj to bowl those 2 magical deliveries in the second innings. You know, it is a classic tale of individuals who kind of stood up, who even if they wouldn't have, nobody would have pointed fingers at them, right? Nobody would have said, Ervi, that, hey, you did not do your job. He was just 2 matches old, or a Verreynne, or even a Keshav Maharaj to say, you should have, as a spinner, got more wickets because he was playing in New Zealand, for God's sake. I don't think spinners get wickets there. So that to me was the theme of the second test match, where lesser known players kind of stood up and performed when it matters, which I don't think the New Zealanders expected. There were times when I think they kind of lost the plot and they were bowling so short and Verreynne and everybody were and Rassie van der Dussen were just kind of pulling and picking on some of the best New Zealand bowlers. So great test series for me to witness, and which is why we continue to love tests, because it's just one of those ebbs and flows, and it sometimes brings out the true character. All right, now moving on to our third topic, which is the bigger one, is the Women's World Cup. Post 2017, where India reached the finals. India were within touching distance of winning the Women's World Cup, till they ran into hot steaming Anya Shubusole, who ran through the Indian batting order. But I think my love for women's cricket started off from that point, whereas watching that match, and for a team which does not necessarily get the same spotlight as the men's team, sometimes not the same kind of tours, for that team to have reached the finals and almost have won the World Cup earned my respect. And from then on, I've been keenly watching. So 2022 World Cup is something which is big, where we Indians have a lot of hopes from our Indian women. So I'd like to ask you, gentlemen, how you think the Indian women's team is set up for this World Cup. What their strengths are, what do you think are some potential weaknesses?
You mentioned it right, 2017 final. Even in the T20 2020, there is the final. So it is very easy to hope that they should go one step further. But the crucial factor here is it is a round robin system where they have to play 7 teams and then finish within the top 4. And that is a challenge for them, because if you see the schedule, the number 4 and number 5 matches are with England and Australia, exactly in the middle. And how they perform in the first half, the first 3 games will dictate how will they perform against Australia and England, and how they wind up against the smaller side, if I can say, to be Bangladesh, and then South Africa, who again is a competitive team. So they have to be consistent, and they do have some experienced players who are in touching distance of 40. So they have to manage their workload as well. And the youngsters have to elevate their performances. There are some players who have really played less number of games in one days, especially the pace bowling department of Renuka and Meghna Singh. They cumulatively have played only 10 games or so. Even Pooja Vastrakar is fairly new. So they have to be guided by Jhulan Goswami. I'm talking about these players because the matches are happening in New Zealand. And India have heavily relied on spin. And if you see the spinners, they have all played 50 matches. But how effective they would be in New Zealand is something we have to watch out for. And if India is not able to get the early wickets, it will be dangerous because the opponents are going to post scores of 275, 300. And then even the batting is very experienced, the strike rate is a concern. And so the consistency is something I'm looking forward to. And yeah, others can pitch in now.
Yeah, I mean, just that point. Whenever I look at Jhulan Goswami and Mithali Raj, it does seem like they're timeless, right? It doesn't seem like age affects their performance. It doesn't seem like age has anything to do with them slowing down. It does seem like with age, they're just getting better. For a woman or a male pacer, even a Jimmy Anderson, right? Maybe a Jimmy Anderson is probably an exception, but Jhulan Goswami to have carried the load of Indian women fast bowling for so long and still continue to perform. She reminds me of the Javagal Srinath of the 90s and the early 2000s, where, you know, till Zahir Khan came along, Javagal used to be the single, was probably the only person who was carrying the load of fast bowling, or maybe Kapil Dev in an era before that. So yeah, I mean, Jhulan Goswami does seem like she can go on for a couple more years. Same thing with Mithali Raj, right? She can continue to be the mainstay. Now, interesting question for me is I didn't realize that Shikha Pandey wasn't a part of the squad. So it's interesting to know that there is a new battery of fast bowlers who will then be led by Jhulan Goswami, because I know Jhulan Goswami and Shikha Pandey had a great partnership in the fast bowling department. Okay.
Yeah, good point over there, Suraj. Actually, I was planning to touch on that. So selection has been a little bold. We're also missing someone like Jemima Rodriguez, who had a fantastic WBBL and as well as the 100. I think she was the standout batter in both of the tournaments, and she's in rock solid form. For them to leave out such a batsman, such a batter in such good form, it speaks about the clarity maybe that the team management have, at least I hope. So they've gone in with bolder selections this time around, and I feel Smriti Mandhana will have a stellar tournament. I think she'll score 400 plus, 450 plus runs. And it's imperative that she scores well for us to have any chance. We all talk about Mithali, Jhulan doing it for India for over the years, but I think now is the time for Smriti to stand up and say, I'm the one who's going to take the Indian women's cricket forward and make a statement by having a really good tournament where she helps India to reach at least the knockout stage of the tournament.
Yeah, you rightly mentioned Smriti Mandhana, because Mithali Raj has been scoring runs in the lead up to the World Cup. She scored over 200 runs against the England series and also in the New Zealand series. The only concern is Harmanpreet Singh also, who I'm really happy that she scored 100 in the warm-up and also 50 in the last match against New Zealand. Because if you see the batting lineup, the openers are Saifali Verma and Smriti Mandhana. And then Yastika Bhatia has really performed well. And I think that led to the omission of Jemima Rodriguez. And then you would have Mithali Raj and Harmanpreet Singh. So the batting is fairly concerned, and all of them are among runs of some sort. But how they who comes at number 4, number 5 is going to dictate, because they have someone like Richa Ghosh who scored the first Indian to score fastest 50 or something in 20 balls. So they have the batting firepower. So they really have to rotate the batters around Mithali Raj, who is, I think, is going to play the role of a consolidator. So, and they have said that they are targeting scores of 250 and 275 consistently. And if they do that, I think the spinners will come into the picture. Second half, the pitches would dry up and the spinners would squeeze in the opposition. But for that, they have to score that 250, 275 runs. Shubham, yeah.
Interesting. Suvam, your thoughts?
I think first of all, the main problem or benefit the thing you can put in the team selection, the final 11, because Sefali Verma, though she was in good touch in England, was not in very good touch in Australia or even in New Zealand. So India going to play Sefali Verma in with Mandana or not? If we have seen in the practice, one of the practice matches, Yastika Bhatia was opening with Smriti Mandana. So if Yastika opens with Smriti Mandana, then most probably Deepti Sharma comes at number 3, as Mitali in a press conference was saying that she was now taken seriously as a all-rounder. So Deepti Sharma can come at number 3 and Mitali and Harmanpreet as 4 and 5. So this can be one option. Then second option can be going with Sefali Verma at opening and Yastika Bhatia at number 3, Mitali Raj 4 and Harmanpreet 5, and Richa Ghosh is we can look at Richa Ghosh as a pinch hitter. But another option can be like as we have seen in New Zealand series, Subramaniam Meghna, who is making a comeback for after 5 or 6 years, she can also be an opener. So instead of giving Sefali Verma, we can give Sefali Verma 2 or 3 matches for a go. If she doesn't click, we have backup options in Yastika or in Meghna. So according to first our top order, the next batting continues. If to me, I think Deepti Sharma can bat it down the order, and if the top order collapses, she can come in and solidify the rest of the innings. The second thing is, if we look at the post 2017 scenario, India have still the pandemic situation. India have won almost all of the series. 7 out of 8 series India have played. India have won, and in all those series, Indian spinners have taken a good part while defending the total or when bowling first. But after 2021, when India did not play a single series for a year, and maybe some kind of rhythm has been broken. So after that 2021, when India-South Africa series, in all the 4 series, the statistics of the Indian spinners have been not very much promising. And despite Sneha Rana coming in once again, either Sneha Rana, Poonam Yadav, or even Harmanpreet or Rajeshwari Gaikwad, the numbers are not very much promising, which have been in the case of previous cases. So the form of the spinners will be crucial. And looking at the team scenario, India bank on spinners on all of the series, even in the 2020 World Cup, when they only went with one pacer, Shikha Pandey. And so how spinners perform, it will be very much crucial in this whole tournament. And what will be the India's final exercise? Will India go to the Pakistan match with 4 spinners like Harmanpreet, Sneha Rana, Deepti Sharma, and Rajeshwari Gaikwad, or India will play 2 specialist spinners? That will be interesting to watch.
Yeah, that's a good point, because I know Poonam Yadav, there was a point of time when she could spin a web around the batters, right? And similarly, I think Deepti Sharma for me is the most underrated all-rounder, because she can bat one down, she can bat down the order, she can bowl. I definitely think I hope she realizes more of her potential in this World Cup. And I know 2017 for me, Harmanpreet had a World Cup which is very similar to Yuvraj in 2011. Unfortunately, India couldn't win the World Cup. And I read something recently that now she's in a better mental space. So I hope she can be that destroyer at 5, because 1 or 2 of those magical innings from Harmanpreet, which she's capable of, can catapult India. Okay, so sorry, go ahead.
India also have a psychologist with them, which is also very much crucial, because India have lost all the last 3 ICC tournaments in the semi-final or the final. So I think having a sports psychologist with the team is, I think, very much important. And as Harmanpreet has said, that after her failures, talking to the psychologist has also helped her. So that is a good thing, I think, during this entire tour.
Yeah. I mean that it's good that now the BCCI is investing in like a full battery of people who can support these players while they focus on the ground. Moving on from India, who else do you think are some of the top contenders and any dark horses for the tournament?
The top contenders have to be Australia. No, I mean they're in super form. I think they've been led well. They have a star opener. I mean the middle order is brilliant. Their bowling has always been good. But for me, I'd like to. I was very impressed. Had not watched a lot of matches of New Zealand before, but I did watch during India-New Zealand series where I found Amelia Kerr to be a superstar, an absolute superstar, and their captain Sophie Devine as well. Sophie Devine actually she terrorized the Australians a couple of years ago with her performances. I think there's this strange attraction towards New Zealand team in an ICC tournament. It just comes naturally, I think. So apart from India, I'll be rooting for New Zealand, and I really think they're good enough to go all the way. Although they did lose the first match, they maybe have now played a part of their home World Cup, but I think they'll bounce back and go deep in the tournament.
Yeah, for me also it would be Australia because they have lost just 2 games in the last 4 years and won 31. So the track record says New Zealand for a very different reason. New Zealand's track record is really like they were losing everything till India went in and India started losing. But the lineup, as Tejas mentioned, they are opening with Sophie Devine and Suzie Bates, and they are just looking to attack and conditions which suit batting. With Amelia Kerr at 4 and Satterwhite at 3 and Satterwhite at 4, they can really post huge scores if they stay on the crease. So they would be very dangerous with the home crowd supporting them. Apart from that, I have not followed England. I don't think they have won many, but they come into the tournament as favorites because a lot of players have a lot of experience of playing these world champions, world tournaments, and they were the finalists in 2017. So these 3 teams, and there I think there would be a competition between South Africa and India for the number 4 slot, and then it can be anybody's game.
Yeah, I mean, I know South Africa are missing their captain, right? Dan Van Nierik, if I get her name right. But I know her partner Marizan Kemp is still a part of the setup, and they have a lethal fast bowler in Shabnam Ismail. I know Shabnam Ismail is I mean, apparently she's clocking what, mid 130s now, and
she was the one who who hurt Smriti Mandhana in the Bomber game. So I mean, I was reading. So there's this interesting series of articles in Cricinfo, if you guys are following. So they are taking one particular aspect of the game, like the pull shot or the bouncer, and also saying who is the best in it in women's cricket. It's a wonderful read. I think if you guys haven't caught up that. And I read this about Shabnam Ismail having a really ruthless bouncer the one day, and the very next day Smriti Mandhana is injured by the same bowler. So it really speaks volumes about that. I'm really looking forward to watching her bowl.
Yeah. Sorry, Suvam, go ahead. I thought you were going to say something.
For me, it's absolute. It has to be Australia the top favorite because I think we don't find any fault in the team. Every time, even Ash Gardner is missing, but today when they played against England, Sutherland came in and she delivered with the ball. So Australia is top up there today. Rachel Haynes hit a century. Her second ODI half century, and Meg Lanning played really well. Partnership was good. So Australian is the favorite to win the World Cup once again. So any of the team who is facing Australia needs something special to beat them on that day. And they have recently beaten England in the Ashes as well. So Australia is number 1 team. And regarding the dark horse, I think West Indies have surprised us with how they have beaten New Zealand. And I think the teams like West Indies or Pakistan or Bangladesh is more suited with when they play the shorter format of the game, when they have to face the less number of overs. So West Indies, West Indies is very much dependent on 3 players, like 3 or 4 players. like Haley Matthews, Stephanie Taylor, Deandra Doughty, and Anisha Muhammad. So if 2 or 3 of them clicks in a given day, they can beat teams. And we have seen in 2000, if you look at 2013, how they have performed, or even in 2016 T20 World Cup when they have beaten Australia in the final. So they can surprise at any given day. So to me, West Indies have to be the dark horse of this entire tournament. South Africa with their legal pace attack, they have four prone pace attack like Ismail, Khaka, Klaas, and Marizan Cup. So in today when Bangladesh was doing pretty well in their first 15 overs, they haven't lost any wicket and scored something 60 odd runs. Then Khaka came and picked up 3 wickets in 2 overs, and the entire batting lineup got destroyed. So South Africa will be looking forward to Lee and Lee and Woolver's opening partnership, while looking at number 3 at Mingron du Preez. So South Africa's batting order can be of concern without Daniel Nicart, who has been in touch in the foreign domestic season. So South Africa's, while batting will be in concern, bowling is almost set, and it is their pace bowling attack that can destroy any batting lineup. So
yeah, what is with South Africa and their pace bowling attack for men's, women's? They seem to have an eye for some good raw talent, and then they're able to groom them. Sorry, you were saying something, Suvam.
So South Africa, even if we take the spinners attack, spin attack of South Africa, Sune Loose is a very good spinner, and I think South Africa is going to miss Daniel Nicart more of a bowler than of a batter, because in the last 2007 World Cup against Sri Lanka, against Sri Lanka and West Indies, Daniel Nicart picked up 4 wickets, and even against West Indies, she didn't even consider any run with her 4 wickets. So that can be an area of concern in the spin bowling department for South Africans. England's opening looks little shaky right now because of moving up. They are pushing players up and down. They're changing the batting lineup very much. They have tried with Watt and Tammy Dumont in the opening. That didn't click. Then they have moved Lauren Winfield Field in the opening today. That even clicked today, and they even went with Amy Jones in the opening, but that even didn't click. So opening is going to be a concern for England, but their middle order with Heather Knight, Amy Jones, or even Natalie Seaver, who has scored a century today, it looks solid, and their spin bowling department is also very good. So for me, England and Australia is top 2, and for the rest of the 2 places, India, New Zealand, and South Africa will fight for it. And we cannot count Pakistan or even Bangladesh out, because we do not know if they can pull up some surprise package or not. So many people are saying that this is going to be one of the closest first World Cup that women's cricket has ever witnessed.
Yeah, we look forward to it. But I mean, just on England, I just wanted to ask, where is Sarah Taylor? Wasn't Sarah Taylor
she has retired
behind the?
Oh, yeah, she's retired.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know this, because I was looking forward to seeing her. She was called the Dhoni behind the Dhoni of women's cricket, right? And I remember she played a men's game as well, where she was keeping behind the wickets.
She's going to be
very good.
Going to be the captain. She will coach some of 100 side, men's 100 side this year.
Okay.
Kent, okay. I think it's Kent.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen. I mean, this is going to be an exciting World Cup, and we hope India are in the top 4. And of course, like I've always said, South Africa, men or women, will always be closest to my heart. So my picks would be to say England, maybe Australia, India, South Africa, or maybe Australia, New Zealand, England, South Africa, whichever way the pie gets cut. As long as India, South Africa are in the top 4, I'll be happy. And our panelists have given their picks. So it'll be exciting next couple of weeks, and we will try and have episodes where we cover more matches as we go along. Any last comments from any of you before we wrap the show for today?
Are you hoping to see a 9-a-side match? So there's a
Am I
COVID
hoping
rule.
to see?
There's a COVID rule. So if some teams get affected, they can field 9-a-side and they can bring in
Yeah,
coaches.
I
So
read
the
about
coach
it.
actually come in if something happens.
I read about it that they can have two substitutes, but those guys, they can't bat or bowl, so it'll be a 9-a-side. The other interesting thing is now I think they have two DRSs, correct? Which wasn't there before, so which can help teams overturn some decisions. What else is an exciting or a new rule this time? Wait. This is another one. They removed that boundary count. Okay, so after the whole backlash of the 2019, so what they've done is now it's unlimited super overs. If, the match ties, the first super over ties, the second super over ties, so they'll keep playing a super over till a clear winner emerges. I think it's the first time ICC is trying this out in a World Cup, I think.
I think similar rule was there for the men's game.
The
T20 World Cup as well.
Got it. Okay.
So in 2000, New Zealand Women's World Cup was won by Women's New Zealand team. And in 2000, New Zealand men's team had defeated India in Champions Trophy, knockout, ICC Champions knockout. This time in New Zealand had won the ICC Champions Trophy test against Indian men team. So you just see fortunes if fall with the New Zealand women and they can lift up the World Cup.
Yeah.
You never know. Maybe Bidhu is our new Nostradamus. Time will only tell and see if what he predicts could be true. But we will try and cover some more as we go along. But thank you again, gentlemen. Thank you again for your time, for your thoughts, and all the exciting inputs you've given. Look forward to many more episodes. Till we meet again, have a good rest of your day and rest of the week. And to everybody who's viewing, we'll try and get more exciting content and try and cover those aspects of cricket which might not be covered in mainstream. So the only way you can help us is by liking, sharing, subscribing, and supporting us as we go along in this endeavor. Thank you, everybody. Have a good rest of the day, rest of the week. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.